Welcome to the Addiction Solution Podcast. I'm Michelle Dunbar. Enjoy listening and watching as addiction experts Mark Sheeran and I cover controversial as well as helpful topics on addiction, how to move past it, and other related subjects. As two of the co-founders of the Freedom Model, Mark and I will give you a completely new perspective on the topics that matter to you. We will take to task the Recovery Society's lies and misinformation and replace them with facts, research, and the methods to move on from addiction struggles without 12-step meetings, rehabs, and the shackles of endless recovery. Let's escape the treatment and recovery trap together and learn.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Addiction Solution. I'm Michelle Dunbar.
And I'm Mark Sheeran, and we are the co-authors, along with Stephen Slate, of the Freedom Model for Addictions, Escape the Treatment and Recovery Trap.
Behind me too.
Yeah. So today's topic is going to be, since it's the first week of the new year, we want to sort of do a review of success stories. But before we do that, we have some housekeeping things that are going to be interesting for a lot of you.
Yes. We have this month scheduled 3 live solution workshops. One is the solution to addiction for substance use and included in that as all kinds of substances, including like smoking.
Mm-hmm.
That one is January 21st. It's going to be, all of our workshops are going to be on Tuesdays at noon Eastern time. That's here we're in the United States. And so that time seems to encompass a lot of the world, where people can kind of finagle their schedules, probably with the exception of Australia and New Zealand. And we do have a lot of people from there. But so that one is January 21st. And that is the solution to addiction. And then we have the solution to PMO and sex addiction on either side of that. So Tuesday, the 14th and Tuesday, the 28th, both at noon, we have live solution to PMO and sex addiction workshops. And then
where do they find those?
They find
to sign up.
You find those on our website, thefreedommodel.org, and the top tabs, there's solution to addiction and solution to PMO and sex addiction.
Yep.
So you click on either one of those tabs and you will see the very first option on those pages is the live option. Now we still have the pre-recorded versions. If you can't make the live version, that you can get right away and watch it immediately.
One of the things that I like to give reminders about is there are some of you out there who may need to talk with Michelle and I. And because maybe you've gone through the information and you're struggling, and your struggle is needless if you're provided the correct information, but in the venue or the way that you need to hear it. So if you're the type of person that wants to be taught directly by Michelle and I, you can either fly in, drive in, and we now do it virtually as well, where we do a 2-day workshop with one person at a time. And we will teach you. That's called the Complete Addiction Solution Program. And I don't know where that is on the website, if that's on the coaching page.
It's on the coaching page.
Okay.
Yep.
It's one of the packages, but
yep.
it's we call it CASP, for Complete Addiction Solution Program. So I always throw that out there because there are people that need that.
Well, and it includes the 2-day workshop with us. Now we have somebody that's doing that this month, and they're in a different part of the world. So we have scheduled 2 full-day workshops virtually with them. And we've also done it with people even on the other side of the world in Australia and New Zealand, where we've split it up to multiple days. So we will work with you. We have different options to do this. It also includes a full year of the online program, the solution workshop, online, pretty much all of our online products. And
also 3 sessions,
private sessions after you're done with the workshop portion.
That's right. With me or Michelle after the big part is done.
Yeah.
So there's all these options out there for you. Now, let's talk about the success stories. So,
oh yeah, what a year we've had.
Oh my God.
The 2024 was such a great year.
It was, well, first of all, we developed an entire model around PMO and sex issues.
Yeah, wrote a
right?
book,
Habits,
the whole thing.
destructive habits. Yeah, so we wrote the book, we created the workshops. There's just a tremendous amount that we've done. And that was, I've always coached people, and Michelle has as well, with these issues. And but then a Reddit forum had sort of gone viral, and we got just inundated with the need. And what we found is that there's no program out there worth its weight in salt. It's all very damaging, destructive ideology, just like the treatment industry is with substances. So I guess we've always known that, but it was never in our face to this degree. So I got to work, and Michelle got to work, and we developed this entire model. And in doing this, it's been a lot of fun working with this demographic. I get the majority of it because it's mostly men. Michelle's are more relationship oriented, less on the porn side of things.
And I want to say something about that. What's interesting about what we've done with this is now with the women that I'm working with who are substance users primarily, that part of their fantasy comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. If there is because women, many women use alcohol and other substances and as kind of the license to misbehave and to be able to go live this other life,
right? Have infidelity and that sort of thing.
And a lot of times that was still hidden.
Yeah, it was more outward, obviously, with the men. I think because with men, things tend to be just out there.
Yeah.
And we're sort of beastly people, right? We're just kind of sloppy. But with women, there's a standard that's held that's, I think, higher.
I think so too.
Socially and from a guilt perspective and shaming perspective. And so, yeah. So let me tell you about one of the fellas that I worked with. And this is a really interesting case. So this person had a very fundamentalist Christian ideology that he grew up with in a family that was steeped in fundamentalist Christian ideals and morals. And me and Michelle were just talking about this, that it's very, very difficult to initially start working with somebody that has a steep moral code when it comes to PMO and sex addiction issues and drug and alcohol issues.
Because there's so much shame, so much guilt.
So what happens is there's in the first session when I'm building the puzzle, or when we're building the puzzle with our student, it's really interesting because what they think they want is not actually what they want. And so it a lot of times we start with, I have to stop. That's where it starts. And this particular fellow really, really was analytical. He was smart. He was super nice and is a super nice person, and was really lost in this moral code perspective. And so it took until the middle of the second session for the light bulb to go on. I kept questioning, and it always was dancing around this moral code. And I did something that was a lot of fun. We started role playing with the devil. And I said, if there was a devil, if there was a demon, and I went down this logic path. Now, I don't impose my Christian values on people when I coach them. That's just not what I do, because it's not necessary. We all have the same three attributes, and that's autonomy, free will, and the positive drive that I can work with. That's beyond religion. But when we work with people that are highly, highly religious, he kept saying, I just need to stop. I just need to stop. And I said, why? And eventually we got to, because I feel guilty and it's wrong. And so I started to role play and say, okay, if the devil was real, now, whether I believe there's a devil or not didn't matter. And I said that I don't want to take on him. I don't want to be the moral judge, right? In my coaching technique. So we did this thing where we went back and forth, and I walked him around the morality to the real issue, which was, I really like this. activity. And because the moral question was so big and pronounced and powerful and in his focus, he wasn't able to see beyond that. And he was so frightened to abandon the moral code argument because he felt like it would be the devil that was making him abandon that. So through this role-playing technique, I was able to get around the moral question and then say, why do you like it? And that was fun. And he found it fun. He found it liberating, and it didn't take his moral code away. I said, there's nothing wrong. Let's act as if there's a devil, because I know you, in this particular case, he believed in that. And if that was the case, how would this work? And so through this technique that I developed, we got around the moral issue. We got to why he liked it. He was able to express his like of it. And also I said, in your moral code, in this particular code, would Jesus shame you? Would he use shame to make you stop something, or is he all loving? And so these questions, and I happen to know a lot about religion. I know a lot about philosophy. So I was able to work around this, and we got to where he could love himself, where he could realize that if there was a God, an all-loving God, that we could work with an all-loving God. If there was a devil, that we could work around the shaming part and get rid of that and put that on the shelf, put the devil on the shelf, and then look at, through love, would God want to say, let's analyze this properly so you can get past it? And that blew his mind. He said, oh my gosh, so I don't need to shame myself into compliance. I said, no, I don't think, if there was an all-loving God, if there was, then I don't think he would want to shame you into submission. I think rather he would probably want to love you into analysis. And that really blew his mind. And it was fun to do it. So that was, anyway, he's getting over his problem. We have our last session coming up, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that was one of my success stories with a person that was really, really mixed up.
I think something else I want to talk about that happened this year was we've been getting more people signing up for coaching for smoking.
Yeah.
I know I've had a couple this year. We're working with somebody in our workshop side of like within CASP, our complete addiction solution program. Somebody signed up for it there. We have our last session with her for the workshop part of it coming up, I think, next week. And so that's been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And ironically, I would say it's an easier issue to deal with because most of the smoking thing is based on really deep marketing. And so when you show them the sham that they've been told of the benefits of smoking, because smoking has so little benefit, you literally have to create them right out of your ass and believe it. And then once you realize, oh my God, I've been believing this prop does this thing for me, how ridiculous is that? Once they see that, really see it though, once they really see there is no benefit.
Yeah.
And getting them to admit that there is benefit is the real, I would say, the hill to climb. Because they've been, especially in Western culture, shamed so badly with smoking.
Well, I know. I mean, and most of the people that we've been working with are our age, right around our age, are in their 50s.
Yeah.
And the data really does show that most people quit right around 50 years old or by 50 years old. And so these people are usually right about at that point. But so two things have happened over the years. We started smoking when we were young because it was practically seen as healthy to do back then. We grew up in the 70s and 80s and it was a thing.
Yeah.
Like smoking was a thing. Everybody did it. It's supposed to relax you. You're supposed to have wonderful benefits. And so now the flip-flop has happened. And this was the key with one woman that I worked with. The flip-flop happened, and the thing that was hooking her to it, right, wasn't even all the benefits. It was the opposite marketing of smoking is an addiction. And you can, and she tried everything. She tried the drugs, she tried the
Gum.
nicotine replacement, she tried she did the Alan Carr's Easy Way. That helped her to reduce her smoking. But this whole belief system kept her very stuck in this idea that well, and during a period of time where she was trying to quit smoking, her husband got sick and he passed. And so that in her mind was keeping her tied to it as well, because you can't quit smoking when it's a difficult time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the marketing, right? That
they're, because she's like, I don't believe in the benefits. And I'm like, well, you clearly still do believe in the benefits because you believe it's helping you get through the loss of your husband.
So much of the coaching model is helping people navigate past marketing and also guilt.
Yeah.
And I know we talk about this endlessly, but it really, people discount that so quickly. They go, yeah, I feel guilty and all that, but why do I keep doing this?
Why do I keep doing it?
And I go, well, you can't see why you're doing it if you feel guilty, because you're focused on that. And when they clear away that shame and guilt, boy, does that just open up.
It sure does.
The analysis skills take off, and the whole perspective of the sham that they've been living becomes really in focus. And then it's easy to let go. It's easy to let go of something that you realize you've been completely bullshitted on. And that there is no real benefit to what you once thought was beneficial.
Yeah.
So, but getting there can be some work. So I had a fella who, it wasn't moral, it wasn't guilt. It was, he just believed in the stress relieving agency of the drug, heroin. And, heroin is a funny thing because it's really a very one-dimensional experience. It's numbing, quite literally numbing. It shuts down your nervous system in a way. And so it doesn't do anything. It's a very passive experience. And this person, it was really wild. He kept saying, it gives me energy. It takes my stress away. I said, wait a minute, those are two opposite reactions. How can it pharmacologically do those things? He said, they're not opposites. And then he thought about it. He's like, oh my God. Yeah, that is.
People think that about alcohol too.
Yeah. Alcohol, I hear it all the time. And I used to believe it.
Me too.
You go off and you go crazy on alcohol, and you become inspired like Hemingway. I call it the Hemingway effect. What a bunch of bullshit. And
marijuana now too. Marijuana, we talk about that all the time with different people, about how, there's one strain does this and another strain does this. And it's like, it's all THC, just saying.
Yeah. And now they are, I am learning more. They are manipulating other ways in which chemically it works on you. But the truth of the matter is this: how you interpret that chemical reaction is what
it's everything.
It is literally everything. The physical effects are what they are. And it doesn't matter if it's LSD. People always say, well, LSD really changes your brain. Well, it does affect your brain in some big ways. It does. But what's interesting is you don't become a drug taking zombie when you do LSD. You also, it's funny with hallucinogens. I worked with a guy who was a big hallucinogen user, and really was deeply like a chemist. I mean, this guy was totally involved in it. And I said, funny thing, he talked about how his mind expanded and all this. And I said, funny thing is about the results. And I said, look at your life. Look at the objective truth of your life. And this was hard. And it was a disaster. I said, for all your insight, how come it doesn't practically apply? Right. And he was like, holy shit, And I said, but the other, let's go in the other direction. You, in the one way, you believe that it does all this miraculous stuff and gives you all this insight when it doesn't, because your life is a disaster. And then on the flip side, you tell me how it takes over and you have no control, but yet you do. The objective truth is you don't go out and kill people. You don't go out and slap your wife around. You don't lose control of your agency. And there were tons of examples of this that he had brought up without realizing it.
Right.
So when all these things that he believed about this drug, which does affect processing in a massive way, but yet his mind was able to supersede that and control the narrative of what his experiences were. If he went into, a trip with a bad mood and he wanted to have a bad trip, he would have that. If the circumstances were chaotic, that's the experience he had. And I also showed that he was able to turn that around while high with examples he gave. So this changed his life. He was like, maybe I don't need this to get the insights that really aren't working anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the themes for me with the women that I worked with this past year was the reluctance to let go of magic.
Yeah.
That specifically with women 40 plus drinkers, I had a ton of women 40 plus drinkers who, you're at that age where you need to believe in something.
Yeah. Well, you're in that odd spot where the innocence of your youth is gone.
It's totally gone.
And you can see the end. And once that transition happens, and that's what we call in Western culture a midlife crisis is the ability to see the end of your life, that you have a limited time. You may not even realize that. That's really what it's all about. But you do get a lot of those.
I do, because I think when you get to your 40s and early 50s, women particularly, a lot of times, your marriage has ended. Most of these women their marriage has ended, or they've lost a spouse.
Yeah.
And their children are grown. They're either late teens or they're out of the house. Your career may be stagnant. So I think I did a video about the John Cougar line. I forget what song. Oh, Jack and Diane.
Yeah,
Jack
and
Diane. What is the line?
Oh, life worth living.
Life goes on even after the thrill of living is gone. And I think that's where you get to at that age,
right.
Where
you start to perceive it that way.
Yeah. Where you think, oh my God, I just have to keep living this life. And then maybe you go back to, you look for that magic that you felt when you were in your teens and early 20s. And, you go out back into the dating world and you start drinking and then it's not going the way you want. And then before you know it, you're drinking at home by yourself looking for magic.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but you've had massive success in showing people that transition is natural.
It is natural.
And that alcohol, drugs, and maybe adding in a bunch of chaos isn't the answer that they're looking for, that it hasn't produced the results that they're looking for, which is happiness and fulfillment.
Right. And also, I think there has to be with these women, there was a realization that like a transition has to be made, that I can be happier not doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems simplistic, but they don't want to let it go, because there seems like it's exactly one particular woman who was divorced, who let go of a terrible marriage. And I kept going back to that example. I'm like, you didn't want to leave your marriage initially either.
Yeah.
You really didn't. You every little piece of love that you were getting was good enough for a long time. And that is not different than with alcohol. That what you call the 2-drink window, the 3-drink window, where you're feeling a little love from the alcohol for a little bit, they didn't want to give that up. And I'm like, well, don't give that up, but give up the rest of it.
Yeah, so the illusion that the first 3 drinks is somehow magical, which it really is only alls it is the observation that your body is going from a sober state to a drunk state. And in the transference of changing your state of mind, your state of physical being, you interpret that as magical every single time you do it.
Right.
You have an anticipatory reaction.
If it's something you like.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
like the feeling.
Yeah. And then you double down and
trying to get that feeling that's gone.
And you double down also because you want a lot more of it, because you don't want to deal with, you think that alcohol can blot out these awful feelings of fear of getting older, maybe losing your beauty, right?
Or being lonely,
yeah,
or being unfulfilled in life. And so you just kind of wallow there. And that was another theme. Like with some women, that was a chosen fetish of sorts, of the wallowing, of the sitting and feeling the self-pity of, so this is it kind of thing, instead of shifting, which you can shift any focus from self-pity to opportunity.
Yep.
And that's really where the coaching sessions would go. Well, let's look at, obviously we'll challenge what you believe you're getting from alcohol, but let's look at your life as a whole.
Yep.
And see where there's opportunity there that you're not recognizing.
So all of these success stories happen when the person has the realization of several things. One is, in the cases that she's talking about, that it's okay to get older, that it's okay to face death, that it's okay to allow your body to be older.
It's okay to leave a marriage that wasn't working.
And it's okay to be bored and lonely for a little while as you rebuild yourself and climb into your new skin as an older person. And I think that when we rebel against the natural order of things, of aging, as an example, this is something we see a ton of. Yeah. I see it with the men too. Believe me, I get guys that are really powerful men, or sometimes just your average dude, but they're in their 40s and 50s and they're changing. Some in their 30s, and they're panicking. They're already panicking and they're drinking wicked heavy or doing drugs or PMOing, that's common too. And none of it's working, but they don't know why. Right. They don't know why they keep clinging to this thing. And once they see it and they see, oh, so there's 2 things that happen in all our success stories. One is the devaluing of the perceived benefits, and the other is moving forward and realizing that moving forward is okay and not frightening. Right. And there's a little piece between devaluing and then moving forward that's a little bit of a leap of faith. But what the coaching does is it builds the bridge, builds the logic bridge, and gives that person enough validation and enough support in educating them that they go, oh, you've done this before with people. Say tens of thousands of times. You are going to be okay. And when you do that with people, and it's not bullshit, and they know it's not bullshit, they can tell that what you're saying makes sense. They're able to take that leap, those small leaps. And that's the other thing. I think part of the success we have with people is also, I don't tell people that they got to have this massive quantum shift in their thinking. That's going to come one way or the other. Life is going to make you think differently. It's just the universe is set up that way. All we're doing is giving the little steps to get there. Yeah. So that you realize it doesn't have to be terrifying. Changing doesn't have to be totally terrifying. It can be a fun process mixed with a little bit of work. And you just have to be willing to think differently. And we do get some people that aren't the success stories that fight everything. And I usually don't do sessions with them after one. I say, you know what? Save your money till you're ready to hear some things.
Yeah. Sometimes we get the people that are, they're waiting for something outside of them to fix them.
Yeah, they're looking
and
to be
that's what they're
saved.
looking for
Mhm.
is you said you could fix me. We've never said that. We've never said that we can fix somebody from the outside. All we can do is provide information and maybe help you to gain insights. But ultimately, the way people change is to change their mind. And the thing that is the most satisfying, I think, is when somebody says, and this may happen in the first coaching session, or it may not happen until like the sixth coaching session, right? When somebody says, "Oh my God, it's easy."
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I'm such a bullheaded, crazy person that I make things so much harder than they need to
Me
be.
too. I always have.
Yep. And there's a beauty in hitting my mid 50s, and that is I don't do that anymore.
No, me neither.
I'm like, you know what? I just want to be happy. And I really don't give a shit what is going on. I'm just going to look at this. I don't try to control people anymore. That's not my task. My task is not to run my family. It's not to run this person, to run my wife, to make judgments about everything. It's just to enjoy people. So I think that's where we want to end this is we enjoy working with you. We enjoy doing this. We love you. We want you to be happy because I mean that's why we're here.
That is why we're here. And that's why we keep doing these podcasts every single week for you. That's why we've decided we're going to do live workshops this year, because we want to connect with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else.
We've been doing this now. I got the notice on my phone. Baldwin Research and the Freedom Model are now 35 years old. So we've been doing this every day for 35 years. We're great at what we do only because we love it and we love you. So I hope you were encouraged by this to know that if you are in your cups, so to speak, if you're struggling and you're frightened, that we can help you get through that and that you don't need to be. Believe it or not, your fear is needless. You just don't know that. You have a certain set of ideas that for you personally are keeping you stuck, and we can help free you from that.
Yes. So if you want to talk with us directly, you can, if you have questions about any of our products or coaching or what might be right for you or someone that you love, you can reach us at 1-888-424-2626. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right at the top of the screen. And you can always go to thefreedommodel.org. You can always email us at info@thefreedommodel.org. Watch thefreedommodel.org, the solution to addiction tab and the solution to PMO and sex addiction tab for those dates for our live workshops. We will be having them throughout the year, at least a couple every month. So check those out. And yeah, we would love to work with you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a great year.
Yes.
All right. See you soon. Bye.